Hey everybody, welcome to the episode. This is your host Chris Sheng, and today we've got Jay Ruparel, who is the co-founder and CEO of VoicePlug AI. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Yeah, of course. Tell us a little bit about VoicePlug. What do you guys do, and what kind of companies you guys work with?
Yeah, so VoicePlug is basically providing voice commerce AI services. And what I mean by that is helping businesses enable voice for natural language transactions and conversations. So we work with restaurants, which is our first pitch stop, where we enable restaurants to have voice-based AI ordering solutions at the drive-through over the phone, so customers can have natural interactions with the restaurant using voice and place their orders.
Interesting. And there are particular kinds of companies, I guess, within the restaurant industry you guys work with? Is it more like uh, fast food chains or like fast casual, or is it also, kind of like the single restaurant stops?
It is actually all of those, and we have different solutions for each of those segments. So primarily three segments. First is QSRs with drive-throughs. So we have a drive-through AI solution which automates the order taking at the drive-through. We have pizza chains where we have a solution called Pizza Voice, which is essentially for taking orders. When people call up pizza chains, and pizza is a very complex. Usually the conversations tend to be pretty complex in the kind of customization and modifiers that people want. And then we have fast casual and casual dining places which have high amount of what are called off-prem orders. So takeout, delivery orders, and so people are calling them. Currently, they don't have staff really being able to pick up those calls, and so we automate those transactions using our phone AI solution.
Got it. Interesting. Love to dive in deeper around just kind of the technology and what you guys have been building for the past few years. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got involved in tech in the first place.
Yeah, so I've been a tech founder for about 20 years, and VoicePlug is my third business in the tech product space. I've been tracking voice as a human computing interface for a long time. And my previous company, we did a lot of data and insights related work for the retail industry. And I could see the voice as an interface evolving as the next thing that is coming in. Humans have, if you really look at it, we can speak 3 times faster than we can type, browse, or scroll, right? So voice is a very powerful input interface. And so I was waiting for the right inflection in terms of technology advancement for it to really become worthwhile pursuing it as a business. And then when we had, the advancements in AI happen over the last 4 or 5 years, that's where I thought this is the right time to really have a company that's focused on just voice AI for businesses. And that's how we started.
Got it. And how about just in terms of your background? I know you've done a couple other of businesses as well, but what was that experience like again outside of VoicePlug in terms of just starting your entrepreneurial journey and like and kind of getting your finding that was your direction versus like, working with an organization and being like a cog within the wheel.
Yeah, I started with working. My first couple of years of my career was working with some tech firms, and that allowed me to have the experience of really building a product that is that's solving a real problem. And I kind of looked at the founder DNA. I experienced the founder DNA there to see whether this is something I related to it or not. And I felt very passionate about using technology to solve a real problem. And I felt that the best way I could really pursue that passion was to build something on my own rather than work for someone. And so that's how really the journey started. My family and most people in my community actually, from the background that I have, really didn't run a business. So I didn't come from generations in our family have never run a business. And so this was new for my family, for everyone in the community. But I was pretty determined that, if I picked up, a trend or a problem area that I could really solve well through technology, I knew that I could scale that to a successful business.
Interesting. And where did that confidence come from in terms of, or I guess like, maybe that was through hindsight now, it seems like, that was pretty natural, but like going through that experience, you're wearing a lot of different hats. You're ultimately like taking on a lot of different responsibilities outside of just your core competency, right? In terms of like running and operating a business. Um, so where did that belief or faith come from?
Yeah, so there were a few different sources to that. One was I was my first business. I was really blessed with having a co-founder who actually had a business background and became a partner and mentor of sorts. And he really had that confidence that even despite any downturns, really would always look at the positive side of things and say, hey, what can we do now, rather than trying to focus on the problem. And so there was a lot of inspiration I derived from that. The other thing is, the company I worked for, when I started my career, was a company called Infosys, which is a IT services major. And that was founded by a set of middle class founders with no business experience, and they built a very successful company. So that was another inspiration where I felt, hey, maybe you don't necessarily need a lot of capital or business experience to be successful in running a business. So so there were these inspirations that were there. But also it is also, I would say, as a founder, you learn and build the confidence. So my first business, we had a lot of pitfalls. We were at a stage where it was difficult to do payroll, and some of our early clients didn't pay. But all of that really taught some early lessons into how well you can navigate, and really, instead of considering those as failures, how can you look at those as setbacks that you can learn from and emerge strongly from there. So it has been a journey, I would say, in terms of the confidence building as I've learned from these experiences.
Got it. And this obviously being VoicePlug being like you mentioned your third venture, what were some of those failures, ultimately like learnings that you took into this to give you a better chance of success this time around?
I would say there are three or four key ones. One is focusing on building the team and the culture right up front. A lot of times, as entrepreneurs, running startups, we think maybe culture is something that could follow later. Let's not really, spend too much time on it. We have customers to serve, we have products to build. But I learned it that ultimately, if you're not intentional about what culture you want to build, about what kind of team you want to have, it will take its own shape, and that may not be the shape that you want to have. And the more scale you have, the difficult it is to then backtrack and start rebuilding. Culture is not something that is easy to delete and rebuild all over again. The other key learning was also that we needed to focus on what the market wanted as a solution, rather than what we thought was the right approach, or the right solution. So be very focused on the problem you are trying to solve, and be passionate about the problem rather than being passionate about the solution. And this kind of really helped, in our VoicePlug journey. This mindset really helped us, because when we set out to build VoicePlug, our first MVP, minimum viable product, was an app which had voice, a mobile app that had voice, and we were all very excited about it. But based on my learnings from the previous organizations, we said, let's test it out with the market. Let's see what the market feels about it. And we got some really interesting insights to tell us that this was a nice to have, but there was a much more bigger problem at the drive-through in answering phone calls, which was something that customers were really worried about. And so because we didn't have any egos about the solution that we had built, but we were more concerned about the problem we are trying to solve, we were able to pivot and focus on that. So that was another, I would say, very important learning that we had.
Got it. So originally, was it like a direct to consumer product and then you switched to a B2B product?
It was initially the plan was to have a marketplace and a consumer facing app where people could just order food, just by using voice. And then we realized as we spoke to businesses that the front of house labor pain was real. People didn't want to work in the restaurant industry. There weren't people who were answering calls, who were at the drive-through, and so there's a lot of business frustration that owners had because they didn't have a solution for that.
Got it. Can you walk us through a little bit around, when was that epiphany moment, and then how did you guys switch the go-to-market and pivot the product to adjust for that? Like how long ago?
So that was we did this customer in-depth interviews pretty early on. So sometime around Q1, Q2 of 2021 is when we took the MVP to the market, and then we realized that thank God that we hadn't gone too far in our journey. Again, learning from the past experiences, we were able to get those insights, and then second half of 21 is when we really started building the product. And then what we did is we said, this has to be a B2B2C kind of a proposition where we really empower businesses to enable voice at their ordering channels and making it really easy for them to plug in voice. So that's the name VoicePlug, which is you already have existing ordering channels. How can you make voice as the natural interface for people to have conversations and transactions with, and that's then ultimately translated to our go-to-market, which was then going to businesses both direct and through channel partners, and having them ready to start having voice ordering at their ordering channels.
Got it. Walk us through a little bit like the technology. I mean, you mentioned, making sure this is something you've been involved into in terms of like voice as an interface for some time, but then technology had to kind of catch up to I guess like the level in which you felt like was a practicality. What were some of those changes? And then what, obviously so many evolutions has happened in that time period between when you started to today. And so how have you guys been evolving as well towards the other technological shifts?
Yes. So when we started, really, we didn't have these. We didn't have, the LLMs and I mean, not many people knew about large language models the way they do now. And what we built was something very unique in terms of the approach that we took. We used real audio data between restaurant and customers, the recordings, the conversationals, and we use that to build what we call our own domain language model. So this was a model that worked very well for any food order taking conversations, and because it was vertically deep, specialized for that particular use case. And then as we saw the evolution of LLMs, and we realized that there are some aspects of LLMs that could be helpful to use as a part of our solution. We then started experimenting and doing R&D with using LLMs for different purposes within our solution stack. And so now what we do is we have a great mix of our own domain language model and some LLM interventions that we have had in making sure that overall solution works really well. So when a person is hungry at the drive-through or over the phone, you can't work with a 70-80% accuracy. You need like 95%, 96, 97% accuracy, and you need a very low latency. You can't really have the customer wait for 6-7 seconds before you get an answer. The problem with the pure LLM approach is that it doesn't give that same level of accuracy or the low latency that's required, because by definition, a large language model means there is a lot of data to be parsed. And what we were able to do through using our domain language model is we get the standard responses really fast and with the accuracy required. But where the customer is using a lot of language related inputs, we are able to then make a quick call to LLMs and then figure out what's the best response that the customer should get, and address that.
Got it. Um, Interesting. And you mentioned like latency, right, as part of that experience. Um, obviously that's, I'm sure, one of the more important things for service businesses and like making those orders with customer, the interaction with the customer. What are some other variables that you've found that, again, maybe the technology's there or is still maybe not quite there, that you feel like are missed opportunities or opportunities for improvement, to increase customer satisfaction? And then ultimately, with all these QSRs in the restaurant industry, it's also like focusing on how do you increase average like ticket order, right? And ticket volume.
Yes. So one of the big areas is around personalization.
Mm,
Today, if the same customer goes to a drive-through even 3 times a week, they're never remembered, they're never greeted, their choices are not understood or remembered. And so what we have built as a part of the solution stack is a personalization engine which recognizes you, identifies you if you're a repeat customer, and then every interaction from then onwards is tailored around giving you that unique experience, remembering your dietary choices, right?
mm,
Remembering what you typically order X item whenever you order a Y item, right? Or you prefer a certain type of toppings over a certain type of item. And you're not having to repeat that every single time you interact with the restaurant. That is one part. The other is, also being able to offer you personalized upselling, where it is relevant to your context. So if I know that when Chris comes on a Thursday afternoon at the drive-through, he's most likely, based on his profile and based on his past order history, is most likely will be willing to accept a certain upsell, right? I
yep.
will, and so that allows us to increase the average check size for the restaurants. And we have seen a lot of restaurants have had benefits of, that increased average check size through these personalized upselling. So today we offer about 12 different algorithms that the brands can choose from in terms of the type of upsell they want, time of the
Mm,
day of the week. If it is Thanksgiving week and you have a special promotion running, what is it that the people are most likely to accept?
mm,
So that is a big area where I think AI-based personalization has delivered results.
got it. Um, and where are some of the other, like, I guess, like near future opportunities you see with voice AI as an interface, whether it's in the restaurant space and placing orders, or it's in other industries or verticals?
Yeah. What we have built is really the core AI engine that we have, the voice AI engine, and we have a patent on the core technology. It is, while we are using it right now for restaurants, a lot of it is applicable for other areas, like for example, the retail scenario or other hospitality use cases. And so we see some trends emerging both within restaurants and outside. So within restaurants, let me give you some of the things that we are seeing. One is the drive-through experience itself is getting redefined.
Mm,
People are preferring less and less to queue up at a drive-through, but looking at options where, for example, they can go to the parking lot, use a QR code there, and
mm,
and and then bring up a voice app, which then they can place an order with, right? Or being able to use at the table side, when you are dining in the restaurant and you are interacting with the server being able to use voice AI as a way of capturing what the customer asked for, and hence being able to manage eye contact with the guest rather than having to look at their iPad and taking the order. So there are interventions like this within the restaurant space, which we see will emerge, over time. Outside the restaurant space, there is, voice is a very powerful search um, medium. You can do very complex searches within a few seconds just by using natural voice. And so, for example, in a retail scenario, in a typical large format retail, for you to be able to find where a particular item is, again, there are apps that give you that search facility which will navigate you through arrows, but much easier to do it with voice. You are able to say, I want to go to the baby care section and I want to look at this particular item and preferably this brand. You can say all of that in a single utterance and it will help you navigate right there. Or being able to say that, again, within the retail scenario, a lot of the type of goods that are being available in the retail is changing as well. So if you want to get more details on a particular product, to say what are the reviews like for this product, what are the comparative products what are the comparative brands for the same product, which one has the highest reviews, which one has the best customer satisfaction, all of this can be easily voice is a very powerful interactive medium to get these answers.
Got it. I guess on the flip side is like, what are some areas where you don't feel like voice is going to be the best interface, and what are some of the other types of interfaces beyond voice and text that you think might be on the next horizon?
Yeah. So voice, I would say, like I mentioned, it's great, powerful input medium, search medium. A lot of times, people try to use voice for primarily a use case that is more output centric. Like, for example, if you want to really look at a long list of items or a catalog, you don't want someone to dictate that or speak that out to you. So display is a much better output medium. So use cases where you have a larger play of an output response, voice is not really the best medium suited for it. The other thing which we already have some work that we are starting to do in that area is to look at voice combined with other human computing interfaces, and being able to look at, how some, a lot of the advances that are happening with variables, for example, and where you are able to see something and you are also able to ask questions related to what you are seeing, right, which we see in the variable segment, or being able to control an output based on just thinking about it, right? And some of these coupled with voice could be really powerful applications. So we see that voice by itself may not necessarily be a solution for all use cases, but voice coupled with some of these other human computing interfaces that are evolving could be very powerful.
Got it. Very cool. On that note, I know we're up on time, man. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your insights and visibility around your journey, as well as just what you guys are building at VoicePlug AI and just the future of voice as an interface. Super interesting stuff.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you.